Hello, you guys. It is another glorious day, and it is time for Strategy Sunday Summer Series. For the Strategy Sunday Summer Series, and we're kicking it off for June 29th, 2025, and we're here with another strategy. Now, you guys remember that Sunday is the first day of the week. Monday is not the first day of the week. Sunday is the first day of the week. Monday is the first work day of the week, and that was established because of the working class. Remember, the aristocracy didn't know the first work day of the week. For them, Sunday was always the first day of the week. And of course, we here at Melanin Monarchy believe that you rule and you reign over your life. And that's what these strategies are about to help you continue to rule and reign over your life and also over your week. Now, remember, it was Sunday yesterday in Australia. If you're trying to get started on a Monday, you're already behind the eight ball. You've already allowing your week to dictate to you how it's going to go and how it's going to take you. And remember, you have a default setting. Your week has a default setting, and that's due to your habits. That is due to your actions, which makes up your mindset, and your mindset also makes up your core beliefs and what your beliefs are. And there is a war after your belief system. So here at Sunday, at Strategy Sunday Summer Series, we're going to help you get ahead of the game and become victorious. Now, remember, this is the definition of a strategy. A strategy is a planned outcome, is a planned way of getting your outcome. So it is a planned approach to your desired outcome. And you guys, that's what we're here for. That's what we're going to be doing with these strategy Sundays. Remember, I said make sure that you get a notebook and that you're keeping track of your progress. You're keeping track of how these strategies are actually helping you when you implement them, because that's how you know that it works. So you guys know that I'm not just saying whatever thing that comes out of the top of my head, that these things actually work. So make sure you keep a notebook of it, because some of these things, some of these strategies are going to be action, some of these strategies are going to be informational, some of them are going to be instructional, some are going to be resource accumulation, and some of these strategies are going to be resource allocation expenditures, and then some are just going to be data driven. Data driven. Some of these strategies are going to be data driven, so keep that in mind. So here's the philosophy of doing these strategy Sundays, and where the philosophy of having a strategy comes from. It comes from Proverbs chapter 21, verse 6. And this is out of the Message Bible. Strategic planning is the key to warfare. To win, you need a lot of good counsel. And that's what we're here for. Not only are we here at Melanin Monarchy to give you commentating and reviewing on live entertainment events, but we are also here to help you in your life, to help you just plan your life and get your desired outcome. And that's what we're doing with these Strategy Sunday Summer Series. You guys know how I like to do it. Okay, so for today, let's get to today. I'm actually going to take off my fly glasses so that I can see my notes properly. So we're here June 29th, 2025. And for June 29th, 2025, the strategy for this week is do the hard thing first. Do the difficult thing first. Now, that difficult thing may look like, it can look like an exercise. It can look like a conversation that needs to be had. It can look like something that you need to do with your hands. And we as creatives, as writers, we're always creating. We create with our hands as well as with our mind, but it's doing the difficult things first. Now, difficult is different than laborious. So here's the difference between something, here is the difference between something that's difficult and laborious or labor intensive. Is that this is how you can tell the difference, you guys. Labor intensive is when you know how to do it, you know what to do, and the time it takes to get done. So something that is laborious is something that you know what to do, you know how to do it, and you know the time that it takes to get it done. Okay, that's something that's labor intensive. Difficult. This is what difficult is. Difficult is when you lack the knowledge, what makes it heavy and painful. Okay, difficult is when you know that there is a challenge ahead mixed with a little bit of uncertainty. So difficulty is when something is, you lack the knowledge and it becomes heavy and painful. And it's also when you know that there's a challenge ahead, and there's a little bit uncertainty of approaching that challenge. So that's the difference between difficult and laborious. So when people say to you, people come to you and they're like, oh, that's difficult. You know, our kids do that a lot. Oh, it's difficult. Well, you can say, is it difficult or is it laborious? Is it labor intensive and you just don't want to do the work? Okay. What makes it difficult? So here's the first thing that makes something difficult. It looks difficult because it's a road you haven't traveled before. So of course, any place that we haven't gone before may seem difficult. Our first thought is that it's going to be difficult. Another reason that it looks difficult and may be difficult for you is because you have not imagined a beneficial outcome for yourself. And you haven't imagined that the outcome is something that you're going to come out on top. You're going to be triumphed over. So it also looks difficult to us is because we haven't imagined that there's a benefit at the end of it, and we haven't imagined that we can become triumphed over that thing, or we can come out on top. So that's why certain things look and feel difficult to us. And so if you can't imagine that you come out on top, if you can't imagine that there's a beneficial outcome, then that's an indication that you have a limiting belief. And we're not going to go off into limiting beliefs right now, but this is just an indication of why something is difficult for you or difficult to you. So keep that in mind. Now let's talk about procrastination, because this is what I thought of when I was doing the study. You guys, when I come into these studies, I don't come into these things haphazardly. A lot of praying, fasting. There's a lot of things that go into this. But what came to my mind is procrastination. It's like, I know I'm a procrastinator. I'm a proud procrastinator. And so this is the difference between what's difficult and if you're procrastinating. So procrastination is putting things off, both the easy and the difficult. So procrastination is putting things off, the easy and the difficult. Procrastination is part of a lazy spirit. Let's just be honest. It's just really lazy. But procrastination leads to difficulty and hardship. So if you keep coming against difficult things or difficult tasks or things that you perceive as difficult, then you got to trace it back to the areas of where you procrastinated at. So that's how you do. You got to trace it back to where you procrastinated at. And truth be told, you guys, the reason why that we procrastinate on things is because we don't regard it as important. Or we know it's important, but it's not important enough. So that's why we procrastinate, because we don't either regard it as important or it's not important enough to us. So that's procrastination. So remember, procrastination is putting off the easy and the difficult. Okay. Now, here are the benefits of implementing this strategy of doing the hard things first, doing the difficult things first. Okay. Because it builds courage. You guys, it builds courage. You look at people and you're like, oh, they're courageous, they're bold. No, they just practice doing the difficult things first. All right. So this is the reason why you need courage. You need courage because it results in good cheer. And what good cheer means is that you can celebrate your triumph. You can celebrate your victory. You already know, you can already celebrate because you already know that there is victory ahead, right? And victory can look like a legacy that you leave. It can look like that your name is written with the courageous, whether it's here on earth or in heaven to come. So that's why you need courage, is because it gives you good cheer. Now, here's an example of that strategy. Here's an example of putting this into action. Let's look at a well-known story that we all know. And but before we talk about this well-known story, I also want to reiterate that doing the difficult thing first means running towards your giant. Doing the difficult thing first means running towards your giant. All right. So we all know the story in 1 Samuel chapter 17. My homework to you would be to go back and read that story, because you think you know that story. I thought I know that story. There's movies on Prime. There's movies on YouTube. There's cartoons. You had Richard Gere doing that. There's so many David stories. But reread 1 Samuel chapter 17, and specifically, I would say reread the whole chapter, but read these verses as well. Pay attention to these verses. In 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 17, verses 20, verses 22, verses 48, and verses 51. Okay? Those are the things that marked it out, because there was a lot of running involved. All right. So here's the thing. I think we all know that David was positioned in this place. David defeated Goliath. The whole first Samuel chapter 17 is the story of David defeating Goliath. Forgive me if I didn't make that clear. The first Samuel chapter 17 is David defeating Goliath. And the only reason why David was there was because his father Jesse sent him on a mission, told him to do something. It had been 40 days, and he told him to do something. So I think that Jesse chose David to do this errand. Now remember, let me go back. Jesse had 8 sons. David was the last of 8 sons. 3 of those sons were at this battle with Saul. So the other 5 were at home or doing whatever that they were doing. But 3 of them, it looks like the 3 oldest of Jesse's sons were actually at the battle against the Philistines with King Saul. Now, I think that Jesse chose David is because Jesse knew that David was faster, and he also knew that when he told David to run, David was going to run. Now, I don't know about them other sons. If you have more than one child or more than 2 or 3 child, like me, you always have that one child that like to lollygag and like to just, shuffle or whatever. But David wasn't like that. That was not David. David was Johnny on the spot. David would do, and he was always eager to do what his father said. That probably had a lot to do with some things in a relationship. We won't get into the whole David family or whatever. But so I believe that David was chosen by his father to do this task is because David was faster. Now, doing the hard things first also gives you receipts. Doing the difficult things first, making it a priority, gives you receipts. Now, when King Saul asked David, okay, why are you so confident that you can do this thing? Why are you so confident that you can fight this monstrosity of a man? And really, Goliath wasn't even a man. He was like half man. He came from a lineage, you guys, that really wasn't human. It was otherworldly. But anyway, and King Saul was like, well, how you scrubby, skinny looking kid that used to play the harp for me, why do you think that you're going to be able to defeat this? Look, I got the best of the best here. I got fighting men. I got the best of the best. I got older men who been fighting. I got my son Jonathan, who knows how to kick behind. Now, why Jonathan didn't go fight Goliath, that's a whole nother story. That's for a whole nother study. But anyway, so King Saul was like, how do you know you can do this? Why are you so confident that you can do this? So David brought his receipts. Okay. He said, look, I watch my father's sheep. I watch my father's flock. And when a lion and when a bear came against them, I handled business. I was standing on business. I handled business. So David brought his receipts. Also, your receipts will glorify God. So David recognized that it just wasn't his own ability that caused him to be able to defeat the lion and the bear. It was God delivering him. It was God delivering him. It wasn't just his speed and his skill with the slingshot. It was the supernatural backing that David had that improved his speed and his skill. So doing the hard things first lets God know that he can trust you with the little, that he can trust you with the little, and that he can make you ruler over much. So we all know that's a famous saying, but that God can trust you and that you are ready to be upgraded. So what I'm saying is that when you run towards your giant and you're confident in it and you have your receipts, with that also, and you also are acknowledging that you have supernatural backing, what that lets God know and all of heaven know is that I can trust you with this little. So now I'm going to improve on your skill and I'm going to improve on your ability and I'm going to upgrade you. And that's something that we can never forget. Can never forget that God is with you. He is with you. All right. How do you do the hard things first, though? How do you do the difficult things first? I've told you what the difficult things were. I told you that why it's important to do the difficult things, but we also need to know how. How do you do the difficult things? So here is what I got from 1 Samuel chapter 17. And this is not all inclusive, but this is what I got from it. You get up early. Okay, first you take provisions, and for some of us that may look like food, that may look like water. It may, for our saved folks, it may look like reading your Bible, in the morning. The third thing is you make sure you have full knowledge. Now remember 2 Sundays ago we talked about not being quick to respond. Okay, you got to make sure that you read what you read, you saw what you saw, you heard what you heard, and we talked about that. Go back and watch that strategy Sunday that we did 2 weeks ago on that. So you make sure that you have full knowledge of what's going on. Another thing is that you mind the distractions and voices that prop up the difficulty. So when you're going for your difficulty, you have to be mindful of what's going to distract you. It could be a telephone call, it could be your family members, it could be your car, it could be somebody made you angry, it could be anything else to keep you from doing the difficult things. And it also can be a voice that said that thing is really too difficult for you. You shouldn't even consider it. What that's doing is that is stealing from you. It's stealing your courage and it's stealing your receipts so that you can be upgraded. Okay, so that's another thing. Another thing you need to do, this is how you do the difficult things. We're still on that, is that you identify your tools. All of us have a tool. My tool may not be somebody else's tool. My weapon may not be somebody else's weapon. Or it might be the same. As we saw with David, Saul was like, okay, I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna get you this armor. And David was like, oh, I can't even fit this. I'm swallowed up in this thing. I can't do it. I can't move. It's not in my wheelhouse. So you have to identify what your tools is, and that's what he did. He identified his tools. He knew that his tools was his, he had his staff, he had his sling. He went to the brook and he got 5 stones. Segue. This is a segue. I reread again, preparing for the study, about the 5 smooth stones. And a lot of us believe, and some of us have been taught, that the reason why David had 5 smooth stones is because it was for Goliath's brothers or whatever. Maybe. I think that strategically, David was looking at Goliath's armor, and he was looking at the weaknesses of his armor, and he chose 5 stones because he needed to pinpoint. He knew he was going after the weaknesses in his armor: his helmet, his breastplate, his chest, his shins. He was looking at those weak points. That's what I think, but that's a study for another day. Anyway, we keep going on. So you identify your tools or your weapon. We're still talking about how you do the difficult things first. And the next thing is that you decree your success. You speak your success out of your mouth, and then you run to it. You don't hesitate. You don't flinch. You run to it. You go for it. You run to it. So that's how you do it. Those are the things how you do it. Now, here's a caveat about this strategy, about doing the hard and the difficult things first. It's okay to ask for help. Matter of fact, if you are facing a challenge, you most definitely should communicate that you may need, that you require some assistance. So I'm all for asking for help. If something is difficult, I'm for asking for help. Seeking help in the infancy stages of doing the difficult things first is smart. Let me repeat: seeking help in the infancy stage of you doing the difficult things first is smart. So that's the smart thing to do. Now, that's it. That's what I have for you today. The strategy for June 29, 2025 is to do the hard things first, to do the difficult things first. This will help you win the battle over your week and to come out victorious at the end of the week. You guys, if you are getting any kind of benefit out of this, if you have another revelation of these things, if you may even disagree with me, definitely let me know. I'm for it. Or if there's something else that you want me to talk about or want me to address, I will also consider that too. I am doing this because I know it's upgrading me. And so, of course, I'm taking as many people along with me as possible. All right. I love you with the love of the Lord. Toodle pip. See you next Strategy Sunday for this summer series. All right, you guys. Toodle pip.